As children, we all experience the unforgettable feeling of picking up a good book. On today's show, we plan to look back and discuss the importance of reading for young adults. So join us as we dust off the bookshelf and revisit the school library. Hello, and welcome to Revisiting the School Library. I'm your host, Ezekiel Drews, and I'll be your guide as we look back on some of the books that shaped generations of children and adults. Like any form of entertainment, books offer a world of imagination and wonder to readers of all ages, and nowhere is this more present than in the books we read as children. Today, we'll explore some of the most popular book series for children and young adults and discuss the importance of reading with authors, illustrators, and educators. We begin our look back by exploring a book series that became influential in children's literature for its use of cynical humor, relatable characters, and simplistic cartoon illustrations. And it all began with the longings of a wimpy kid.
As children grow older, they seek stories that they can relate to, and one of the most popular book series in this avenue is Jeff Kinney's hugely popular Diary of a Wimpy Kid series of books. For over 15 years, kids have read the diaries, or journals, of middle schooler Greg Heffley, who in each book documents the events in his daily life with his family and friend Rowley through cartoon drawings.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid was one of the more popular series for a number of reasons. I think the real core appeal was for kids that had been bullied in the past or kids that are just having trouble adjusting in school. You also had sibling relationships in there.
I thought it was funny how sad the guy was because Gregory just did not have a fun time. The characters were all very likable. It was funny to see Greg and all his, schemes to try to either make money or get out of doing work and learn about all of his different family members, because all of his family members have different personality, trying to advance the popularity totem pole at school.
The series, currently with 17 books published by Abrams Books, has sold over 275 million copies across the world and has been published in 56 languages around the world.
They were very popular when I was in school. Back in middle school and in elementary school, they were read almost every day by everybody.
They were probably the most popular series of their time. They outsold most kids' series at that time. I think more kids related to that, and there was a lot of self-affirmation in those stories.
The humor was very unique, I think, compared to some other books. It was very, dry and cynical, I suppose.
I feel like the art style of it is super simple for kids to understand. Like, I felt like it's literally just stick drawings, but like with a couple dragons and stupid things that a kid would enjoy in there.
It helped bring the story to life and, help me understand what the characters look like.
The artwork for the time was actually, although very rudimentary, a very fresh face for a lot of young kids who had never seen anything like that.
The series currently stands as the third best-selling children's book series in history, and fourth best-selling overall. And the series' popularity netted itself a film adaptation in 2010.
What I loved about Diary of a Wimpy Kid was the sociological impact that it had. I think it was very supportive for something that's still going on in our schools today. I mean, bullying is still a major issue in a lot of schools. But I think you're going to see more things like Wimpy Kid be serialized as we go forward, because there are more issues. Every generation has a different issue. And it's up to authors to be able to reflect that back.
The misadventures of Greg Heffley and his family have been very popular among kids who make the transition into middle school lives themselves, and the book's success has netted author Jeff Kinney's place as one of the most influential children's authors in history.
I think the kids today would still find it funny. Elementary school, middle school, early high school is probably the target audience, probably the kids that like it more. But I was looking through those books and looking through those scenes, I was still laughing. It's still funny.
And throughout its 15-year run, the diaries of Greg Heffley have become staples in children's literature.
Jeff Kinney's unique style of writing and use of real-life situations have made Diary of a Wimpy Kid one of the most influential children's book series in history, one that kids continue to read to this very day. But of course, books can have a different kind of influence on children as well. The influence of culture and the teachings of real-life issues. We met with author Dakota Irby to talk about his book, Magical Black Tears, a protest story, and a special event tied to the story here in Milwaukee.
In a time where racism is a pressing issue in society, it is becoming more pressing to teach these issues to children in order to help them to understand the events present around us.
Magical Black Tears is a children's picture book. The full name is Magical Black Tears, a protest story. It's about two children and their family who are experiencing events in their neighborhood that make them curious. There's fire, there's smoke, and these two children want to know what's happening. Their curiosity leads them to get up in the middle of the night and go out to the streets to find out what's going on. And when they're out there, they learn about everyday people protesting to make the world a better place. And in the process, discover some magic that allows them to help save their community. The story came from a dream that I had in 2016. At the time, I was a new father, and I think it was a combination of fatherhood combined with the events that we have seen repeat over and over in our society, namely police officers and vigilantes killing Black people. And it really just culminated into a dream that I had around the time when Sherman Park uprisings happened. I just had a nightmare, and I woke up from this nightmare and I sketched out what was in my dream. It was very vivid, it was color, there was sound. And I really didn't do anything with the story until 2020 when the Black Lives Matter protest started in response to the murder of George Floyd. And at that time, my children were older now. They had questions. They were like, what is going on? Why did they kill George Floyd? Why did they kill Breonna Taylor? Why did they kill Ahmaud Arbery? Why are people burning buildings? Why are people protesting? They just had a lot of questions. So I really try to weave in these themes of protest and direct action. And that's really important because protest and direct action are really critical, important components of a healthy democracy. In terms of the book, I wanted them to have the opportunity to understand that everyday people are the people who actually really make change happen in society.
But for a topic as large and complex as addressing societal racism and protests, there have been many ways to expand these ideas to young audiences.
I had written the book is published by Darude Consulting Cooperative, and we came together for a meeting and started to talk about how do we want to promote, how do we want to market the book, how do we want to get it out. The one that we kind of really resonated most with us was a museum exhibition so that children can come in and actually experience the themes that are covered in the book. So we basically had a conversation. At that meeting, we said this is something we want to pursue, and we started working on it. It's been about 1.5 years in the making to get to where we are right now. And so that's basically, we just said we should create an exhibition. We should create something that could go into museums so children can actually come into a space and experience what it means to take direct action, to participate in protest, to make tools. The main message is that we need to talk to and engage young people at a level that is developmentally appropriate for them. Children ask a lot of questions, and books are a wonderful resource to figure out how to not only answer questions, but how to enter into a conversation. That's the importance of books, and especially books around topics of social justice, racial justice, gender justice for children. And so they're really a tool, and the more tools we have, the more we can build.
Whether through a book or a museum exhibit, the importance of teaching children of protest and persistence is continuing to be an important tool in creating change for the better.
Books like Magical Black Tears have shown that reading can provide children the tools needed to not only learn about the world around them, but work to make it better. As we continue our look back, we take the time to revisit a book series that over its 30-year run has acted as a gateway into a genre that before had been primarily aimed at older audiences. A series that provided spooky fun for kids of all ages. A series known by one simple word: goosebumps.
From the mind of acclaimed children's author R.L. Stine, the Goosebumps series of books remains one of the best-selling book series in the world. Beginning in July of 1992, the first story, Welcome to Dead House, kicked off a collection of delightfully spooky stories that have resonated with children for decades.
Goosebumps was really a pioneer in so many ways for young readers. And this was really the first time you really had a scary but funny approach. And this had already started to permeate adult fiction with writers like Stephen King a decade earlier, or two decades earlier. But this was the first time a kids series really took that approach.
Much didn't scare me, but it kept my interest. And reading as a kid, a lot of things didn't, and it did.
Goosebumps kind of leaked into my life through my sister. We used to drive around in the car, and she'd be in the front seat reading it to us. I remember that.
Many stories in the Goosebumps books deal with adolescents and teens coming across monsters and ghosts in their everyday lives. Despite the stories following a certain plot structure for every new tale, the books make for a great read for elementary and middle school children.
They were way more scary. They dealt with topics that most children's books did not deal with, but there was still the fun involved, and there was still a lightness to it.
It hits on major points of horror storytelling, where there's always seems to be some kind of lesson to be taught that is an important lesson to learn. And a lot of those lessons can be learned without going too far. Be careful what you wish for. Kind of has these contexts of the old, the monkey's paw, where you have to really, really be conscious of what you're wishing for.
Someone who's 10, someone who's 20 can read them, and across the board, everyone will find enjoyment in it. And I think a lot of books as kids, they kind of dumb it down a little bit, and I don't think Goosebumps did that.
Kids have changed over the years. Their exposure to things has been different. I think this just gave them something that made them feel a little more adult and felt like they were growing. If it's not well written, it's not going to be appealing. And they were very well written. R.L. Stine's a very good author.
As an artist, I'm always captivated by the artwork first, and Goosebumps could sell anything with their artwork, period.
You'd see something and it was so bright and it just drew you in, but it also had this kind of like darkness to it.
The covers were very, very, you can almost say garish in the color, but it was very, very appealing.
The cover for Stay Out of the Basement with the hand reaching over and pulling that basement door. You can't tell if it was pushing it open or pulling it closed. And just the plants and the sinews of the chlorophyll looking skin was incredible. And I remember I loved the story. Just the visual and the descriptions of the visuals in that book always stayed with me. One of my favorites.
Over its 30-year run, the books have spawned sequels, spin-offs, and have led to many adaptations, including a television series, 2 feature films, and audiobooks. As of current, the Goosebumps books have sold over 400 million copies across the world, claiming the title of the second best-selling series in history.
You can actually deal with some adult connotation for children without being patronizing or inappropriate, and I think that's interesting. But I also think they're easy enough to read that it helps people delve into bigger, more adult things.
It was for that generation. That was their stuff.
I think a lot of children nowadays should pick it up. My little brother did right after me, and he got all my hand-me-downs, and I think that it really is something special.
And even though the series has continued for over 3 decades, it still goes strong with new books still releasing, introducing new audiences of children to a spooky world sure to give you goosebumps.
Goosebumps is certainly remembered for its unique and creative stories, but of course, it's also remembered for its colorful and creepy artwork. To talk with us a little more about his experience with the Goosebumps series is artist and mastermind behind the Goosebumps covers, Tim Jacobus. It's a pleasure to have you here, Tim.
Hey, Zeke, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us. Hey, you've had a lot of success in bringing the ideas behind R.L. Stine's book series to life. What is your process for creating art and illustrations?
Well, as an illustrator, it's my job to bring other people's ideas to life. And the blessing that I had was that I got to work with R.L. Stine, who is probably one of the most imaginative people I've ever met. And he would just give me a little brief description of what the story was about, because he was writing the book at the same time I was doing the cover. So he would give me a little background of what it was, and then it was my job to get that idea together and bring it to life. So I was just the I was just the conduit that made those ideas visuals.
Gotcha. And with the success of the book illustrations, you know, a lot of people have been told not to judge a book by its cover. In your circumstances, actually, because of how successful it was, are illustrations for a book just as crucial to hooking the reader to a story?
Yeah, you can't judge a book by its cover. That is true, but it is. I like the analogy of hook because I've always imagined my covers were like lures, as if you were fishing. And if I could get you, I want to get your attention. It's going to be shiny and flashy and colorful, and I want you to pick that up. If I can get you to pick the book up, I've done my job. Then it's R.L. Stine's job to reel you in and bring you home with the story. And if the story's good, then when the next book arrives, then you're going to see the lure again, and we've got you on a cycle.
Great. And then for all the aspiring illustrators and artists out there, what advice do you have, if any, for people who are wanting to get into art or book illustrations?
The art world, some people go into it thinking that you look at it as, oh, I have to wait until I'm inspired and I have an idea, but I'll wait to get that inspiration, to feel the muse. And that's really the wrong way to go about it. You have to kind of look at your art, creating art. And this is not just illustration. It can be dance, it can be music. You have to look at it kind of the same way a professional athlete looks at it. You have to train every day, so you have to carve out time every day to do your skill. And I draw every day, and I make sure that it is like a job. I get up early in the morning. I have hours that I spend on it, and anybody who's coming up should do the same thing. Make it part of your day. Make it part of your everyday. And then at the end of the week, you can say, hey, I put in 2 hours every day, Monday through Friday. I got 10 hours in, and just not unlike, you know, getting ready to run a marathon, you start to log those miles and you will see the improvement.
Gotcha. So it sounds like the important thing is to, whether it's good or bad or somewhere in between, just to get out there and do it.
Yeah, you can't, don't worry about the bad. Just keep doing it, because the good comes around. You just got to get through them. Definitely.
One last question for you. Do you still work for Goosebumps?
I'm not the current artist of the Goosebumps series. There's another gentleman who's doing it. They cycle the illustrators all the time. But I have worked with R.L. Stine recently, and it's always a blast to work with Bob.
Great. Well, I'll tell you what, say hi to Bob for us, and it was a pleasure having you here with us today.
I will do that.
Thank you. If Goosebumps and Wimpy Kid were influential staples in children's literature, then our next series can be classified as a cultural phenomenon. Whether you know of the characters, locations, or story, there's no doubt that everyone has heard the buzz about a certain young wizard named Harry Potter.
26, 1997, the world was introduced to the wizarding world of Harry Potter. The hugely popular book series created by J.K. Rowling, the series follows the titular character, a young wizard who attends the Hogwarts School of Wizarding and Witchcraft, as he learns to become a great wizard while meeting friends Ron and Hermione, battling villains, and learning more about the powers he possesses.
I first discovered the Harry Potter series at the Scholastic Book Fair, actually. That's where I got my very first copy of The Sorcerer's Stone, and I loved that book. I fell in love with it instantly after I was done reading it.
Working in bookstores, you had midnight release parties for them on the day they were released. You had thousands of people in the stores clamoring for those books. So many different things about that were right for the time. The length of the book was longer than any kids series had ever been. You're talking about 500, 600, 700 pages with some of those books. Very solid graphics tied to those books. But the other thing about those books is their broad appeal on an age range. It wasn't only for kids. A lot of adults read those books too. And that helped a lot of parents feel comfortable with the content. And when you have something that just crosses generations like that, it's going to go.
For over 25 years, Harry Potter has been vastly known across the world, the books creating one of the most well-known universes in all of fiction. A universe so well-known, it's made the leap from pages to the big screen. The books have garnered massive critical acclaim and commercial success across the world. The books themselves have sold over 500 million copies across the globe and have been translated into more than 80 languages, growing to become the #1 best-selling book series of all time.
My favorite parts of the books at the time were just learning about the characters going to the magic classes and learning all the spells. I thought that was really interesting.
As the books were released, I was actually the same age as the characters. So I felt like it was super relatable, especially, you know, going through those awkward years from being a kid to a preteen to a teenager. So I thought that the book actually reflected those emotions and those experiences really well.
If the writing isn't there and the character development, which was really what was, when a book is that long, you have enough space to develop those characters so that there's that empathy. That sticks with somebody emotionally, whether it's fantasy or not. That's the key.
Harry Potter's impact on literature and culture have been felt throughout the world and have made it well known among everyone, winning a multitude of awards.
I think Harry Potter will be remembered 100 years from now. I think it's substantial literature. It is pretty much the Tolkien of its time.
I know I'll definitely have my kids read Harry Potter when they're of age, because I want to pass that, you know, tradition on to my own children. So I feel like it's important to kind of have the story keep going, especially when it's based off of the books. I want them to read the books before they see the movies, because I feel like it should be done in that order.
With memorable characters, stories, and one of the most recognizable worlds in fiction, it's no wonder why the wizarding world of Harry Potter is looked upon as a cultural phenomenon.
Harry Potter has been a rare instance where a book series has become so popular it transcends across multiple mediums in its impact. But no one can forget its roots on the page. But of course, reading for children is not limited to just the series we've looked at today. Great storytelling for kids can be found anywhere and should be explored by every child. To lend her knowledge, we discussed with educator and author Safia Ortega the importance of reading for children as a whole.
There's so many books I grew up reading, especially elementary library. I can remember tons of them. And I wouldn't say I didn't take inspiration from a book in particular, but just about how the books made me feel. When I am writing my books, I want the reader to feel those emotions that I remember feeling when I was reading the books in the library. So just different ways that I would think about how can I connect with the reader. I have only created 2 children's books so far, but both of those I was trying to think of the age range that would be for the reader. So I'm thinking of what word usage I should put in. Are they going to be able to say those things? Are they going to be able to know what those words mean? Trying to think about what they're going to connect to. What kind of illustration should I put into the books that they're going to connect to? So just really thinking about who the readers are going to be and trying to grasp their attention that way. Being read to or reading yourself at a young age is absolutely going to increase your literacy skills, but it also is going to help you to stimulate your imagination and curiosity. It helps with communication skills and social skills. The more you read, the better you get, and so on and so forth. Kids just find books that they connect with, and if it's a book, a lot of kids like a lot of funny books. So if it's a book that they're reading silently and all of a sudden you hear a bursting out of laughter, that's something that they're going to remember, and they're going to remember, oh, that was a really good book. And I think it's about how books make you feel. Maybe it's something that they relate to, or maybe it's something that, you know, even hearing a gasp when they're reading a book, that they're super into it and they just want to find out more. So depending on what genre they like or what they're interested in, I think that's what brings them to enjoying specific books. If there's students that maybe reading is not their favorite thing, if we can find a book that gets their attention, let's say like Dog Man, there's more than one. So immediately if they like that one, they're like, well, what's the next one? There's more? And then we can show them all the different books and all the different titles that they have out there. And then if they finish that, then they're like, well, what's similar to that? And then we can kind of go from there. As both educator and parent, if you show excitement towards reading, and if you show excitement about books, the kids are going to be excited. So I think it's important for parents and educators to show that, to bring that magic to the kids as well.
Indeed, reading is a valuable asset in development for children and can inspire creativity, imagination, and help improve reading and writing. And many of the series we've discussed today are available at your local public library. As we grow older, we look back on the books we loved as kids and remember why they were so important to us and why they'll continue to be important for future generations. Thank you for joining us today. I've been your host, Ezekiel Drews. Happy reading.